Welcome to the March 27th, 2023 Parking Advisory Committee meeting for the town of Richmond. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I think the first item is usually the any public comment or people. So first thing on the agenda, actually, we were hoping to have Pete join us today to talk about signage. Like, we don't want to get ahead of, obviously, the decisions that needs to make, yeah, recommendation board. We also have to be thinking about timing, and, you know, making sure highway is set up, or at least can see how they can be set up in time for the start of the season. So I invited Pete to the meeting today. Last minute, unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but I reiterated that, you know, anything. You know, I think he probably has a good handle of what he needs, but I also wanted to reiterate if there was something that Pat can do to help out, provide input or suggestions. We'll be happy to do that. So, absolutely not maybe today. Maybe I can follow up on
if we could just talk about agenda conversations with him, maybe the next time, if we can get him in one of the next two meetings, just to sort of like find out what we have to do to open the parking areas and what. I'd like to go, if possible, each area with him. You know, sort of say, you know, Johnny Brook, or like whatever. You know, we just sort of go like, how's that looking, and is there, when do we put out the sign that says recreational parking? We should also talk about if we want new signs or keep them and maybe update the QR code.
All right,
for more info on there.
in that code, we can, we don't have to update the signs, we can just update where it points or the. Link. Yeah, so we don't have to, those, I mean, if we want, we can update the signs.
It would be nice to create or think about the opening times and what do we have to do for opening and what do we have to do for closing, and when we pull up the signage, when we pull down the do we keep the ropes up, are we using ropes where? Also, I know that sometimes, not now because of mud season, but I know in April people start to put more fix the road areas. I just wanted to just do a little touch with that, and how are we going to communicate? Well, getting ahead of ourselves, you're right, Kevin. Where I'm not going to bump ahead, but how to communicate Dugway Road and East Concord if we go through.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of conversation about signage, and I think signs that Pete's going to potentially order, standard, right out of the book, no parking, or even specifically which no parking sign. But then also we have a discussion of what about that the entrance to Dugway on either side. What specific message do we want saying new parking ordinance effects? Like, so I think that subtle kind of signage is probably worth like a really close look, but making sure we get the verbiage exactly how Pete in the town is. Assuming the ordinance change. I don't want to get ahead of myself or be presumptuous, but it's certainly worthy of the conversation. We want it to be like this will be a test year, so really I think even what we do, the first couple busy weekends might really warrant keeping a close eye and see what messages are working, whether
I think you bring up a really good point, is that we should probably plan to have observers, just kind of seeing what happens in both those hotspots.
Maybe we want to put some of these conversations off for our agenda later. I guess I had filled my head with all these questions I was going to ask Pete and see what his thoughts are. So, if you don't have them as a guest,
which is fine. Yeah, I think I was thinking this too, because Pete would be a guest.
Yeah. So we'll ask him back for a few days.
Okay, so
We're going back to Bombardier Meadow.
Well, did Linda? We do have a guest.
I think we lost her when we shared.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, we can take
Lisa.
it off, Lisa.
oh, did
can-
we actually lose?
We can take off,
I don't know, lost her.
you can take off share screen. if
You sure was Lisa there?
Yeah, she's
You want me
there.
to turn my video off?
No, not at all. We were
Oh,
just,
okay. Okay.
did you have anything?
I can do this.
Any comment, Lisa? Any public comment or?
No, actually, I'm really interested in what you guys are gonna say. Well, I've been interested all along, actually. I'm glad I've watched these advisory committee meetings. I've learned a lot that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. So,
We appreciate your interest.
well, it's a lot easier to sit here and listen than it is to be you guys who have to dig through it, had word battles and things, but I know this summer, you're right, whoever said this summer is gonna be the test, yeah, it definitely is. So I don't know what to expect either.
Be better than last summer.
Put in,
Yeah.
yeah.
So. Bombardier Meadow. Anybody want to start off? I'm sure you two have some thoughts, but how the meeting went or.
Yeah, we should talk to you about the meeting.
I'd love to hear more about the meeting. Thank you.
Did you get the email from Jim
No.
about the follow-up? Okay.
Do you have that?
I'll take the cliff notes.
Yes, we need to send, I
I
thought,
didn't see it.
you didn't see it either?
No, I just didn't want
Do you want to, I can do it right
And
now.
I'll tell you what, why don't you, I'll bring it up if I can.
I think you could just send it to them.
Okay.
And I apologize, I thought,
Be respectful, we started off with an introduction to everybody and what, one of the words I kept hearing was balance, trying to find, trying to find a
You have
balance
it?
solution. So,
Can you see?
there's a lot
Are you
of
sending it
things
now?
up front, had a whiteboard set up, was taking thoughts and interests. The UBAC was there, they provided some comments.
Your neighbors were, was it similar to the similar people? from the
No,
last
it
one?
wasn't. It wasn't actually. There was, from the neighborhood, no one other
Okay.
us, what was, the guy next to me and
he was up on West White
West
Hill.
White Hill.
I am,
John Rankin was there.
I'm gonna pass this all on. to
Evan.
you. But also,
So what was UMS? What was their thought?
want to talk about that, Phil?
Well, the guy, Steve, I think, it seemed to me that he kept pointing out how they had tried to accommodate the town, how they were using overrockers, how they had put the ladders down to allow for access down from overrockers, though I think there was some controversy, didn't seem it wasn't discussed there. He sounded, like he was trying to work with people. But when we brought up that, at least from a neighborhood standpoint, that we think that a lot of the extra activity, not necessarily the number of cars, but indirectly the number of cars and certainly the number of people and behavior, that it was commercial use. And we were careful to point out that it wasn't just Umiak. There's a couple of other providers. He seemed to be surprised at that. He felt
that he was considered commercial, or surprised that
that was no, I was surprised to hear that the neighbors thought that was a major source of his and he seemed very genuine in this, that they had done everything they thought they could, but he did a lot to talk about the nature of what they're trying to do, that it's a 2-hour run and they've explored everything. They've talked to all sorts of landowners he listened, he was quiet, respectful. Anything else? He was not combative or anything. He obviously has a different point of view.
And Ted on Richmond Land Trust, also thought it was a great idea. And I said, this is on paper, it looks really good. We're gonna, bus these people over and they're gonna be there for a very short time. They're gonna get out of the river and not gonna bother you. But it's like, he said nobody was working on Tuesday, and Wednesday, but I've seen Umiak there on Tuesday and Wednesday throughout the summer, and later in the summer with camps. But essentially it's from Tuesday to Sunday, and it's just always this activity. So we're trying to, we feel as a neighborhood to sort of say, we can just stop the commercial usage. That would just like tone it down a little bit. So no buses of any size, because the buses were coming in. No commercial usage of the meadow. And then, Steve from Umiak pointed out you can't restrict access. And I said, well, you're right. Living there for all these years, when it was a hayfield, as you know, Chuck, we never walked into the hayfield. At the Winooski Bridge, right where the guardrail is, there's a path. See, that's how you went down to the river, because you legally have access to the river where the bridges are in Vermont. So, but we never crossed the meadow. It was just down the hill and then into the
And
water.
now that's public land, that becomes less of a, back then it was Bombardiers and they were haying and you didn't walk in the hay. But now it's all public land, so they're kind of, the right of way becomes a little greater.
Yeah. But that idea even came up is, could they actually allow people to use the property, but not cross into the river? And Steve asked about, is that legal? And that's when the conversation about, well, there's still that potentially in the town's right of way. I mean, arguably, you might still be in the town's right of way to go down. It's an interest,
Yeah,
It was, it's just to bring you up to speed, it was, Jim Feinstein did a great job. There was not about emotions or opinion, about what we should do. It's just about where's all this, what's happening. And he went all the way from don't open it to fully open and park wherever you want to, and was trying to gather all the information that he could from everybody in the room and who was on Zoom. And so just really getting all the information down and then taking it to the Richmond Land Trust Board either in April or May.
Yeah.
And they will decide what they're going to do.
And I think he did a good job of facilitating the meeting, and exactly I think he's trying to give them a range of options and trying to understand.
Yes,
concerns that they had too. But Jim getting called, 10 o'clock at night to respond to something. It's like, nobody wants them to have to do that. It's, but then is there what, I didn't get a sense one matter which way.
No,
it was really just a.
Oh, yeah.
He's very, he's really trying to be neutral.
Nobody asked, do you want parking in the meadow? Nobody asked that question. Raise your hands. He didn't say, what do the neighbors want? But he did encourage everybody to let him know their feelings or what they felt about it.
This is Jim?
Yes.
So he's the point.
He's the point contact.
Is it appropriate for me to share to put the notes up? Or do we not need to?
I sent it to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I can rehash that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm thinking also, okay, well, what do we need to do, if anything? Like, it's obviously up in the air, but I think if assuming the town passes the ordinance change, and assuming that there is some parking, then I think if those two things happen, then I think that there would, from us, working with Pete, there would have to be better signage and communication to the public, it's what, and these are really hypothetical at this point, because there's two things that are completely up in the air, but I think going into the season, you have to be thinking, what could we be posting at Front Porch Forum to get people to go to Overrocker, to use some other parking area? What kind of sign could we have at the entrance to a hypothetical monument in the parking that would really list the rules of the game and make it really violent fair? And I don't know if this even we're ready for this, but like even the more permanent type of fence that would really corral people into the location. But it's all hypothetical, but it's still worth kind of being prepared for those potential conversations.
So of all the options out there, sorry, go ahead, John.
No, go ahead.
So of all the options out there that Land Trust has, how do they change how we move forward from here? I mean, obviously, we have the new ordinance of Gulf is coming in. We're gonna have to create our own signage for that. And regardless of what happens, what the RLT does, we've got that going on.
Mhm.
And so RLT's choices are no parking, some parking, and that's it.
And,
So-
there was no new, at the end of the meeting, Chuck, there was no new news, no new information
Okay.
that was gathered from all those people together that we don't already have talked about. But what made it clear to me is that, they are a private entity and they're gonna go decide.
Mhm.
And move forward with that decision. And I think that our work with the ordinance, we did it in such a way that we leave that open. If you put parking in there, we'll work around that. If you don't put any parking in there, we've got some parking there. And
One observation I had is that they had not, it didn't appear that they've been following the actual ordinance. There was a couple of people maybe in the room who were sort of didn't know how far that had gone, and they seemed open to it. There was no, but I thought that was interesting. The other, I guess, two things that did come up, I think the two that seemed to have a kind of an interesting new aspect. One was a small one, is the idea of having ADA, disability parking at the very least. That came up and that made the list. What was interesting is that the idea of trying to limit commercial, it came up and then it didn't make the list and it didn't make this list.
didn't make that list.
It did not make this list.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's anything intentional in that. It's just,
I'll have to know.
my only thought in that is, and I'm not a very careful reader, so you might want to look at this, but it does not appear to be on this list.
I heard the comment that I think that what you were saying, when it came up, last meeting, they were the language, but I got that they got the sense that it wasn't them making any money, it wasn't their commercial activity, so it was really this, was kind of debating where like, yeah, this is a, you may not dropping the tutors off of the side of the road.
I think
Across the meadow into the river, that.
this was a different, I think this was a kind of a new angle. This was not questioning whether it was allowed. I think the question that we all had is it truly causing, we believe that it's causing a lot of the traffic, not the parking necessarily, but the usage of the property and a bunch of the mixed behavior, either directly or indirectly. That seemed to be not on people's minds. And certainly Steve from Umiak didn't think that was the case, Ted's comment. And so I think that the idea that, well, they have been, trying to do the right thing and drop buses but I agree that it was sort of portrayed much better than it actually is. And there clearly is a lot of usage from that. So that conversation kept falling off the radar, and I see that it was an important outcome and it didn't make the ideas continue. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. I don't think it's.
I'll follow up with that. I'll take a closer look at that, John, because I already sent, and I sent I also sent you the message I sent to Jim. I did not see that, but I will pick it back up again and I'll send you another copy if that's the case. So your point, Kevin, yes, the answer of legally, what does it mean not for commercial usage when they made that purchase agreement, and that's not answered. I think from a neighborhood point of view, in peace and harmony, we're saying if we could we're just trying to like tamp it down. And one thought of tamping it down was to say, let's not have any buses there of any size, and let's not have any commercial usage there. and see how that goes. To sort of tamp down the activity, because right now it's just increasing and who's to say a food truck doesn't show up on Saturday morning
We're
or,
going to legally rely on conservation easements to do that. I feel like that was the outstanding question. Like, maybe
Yes.
they can, maybe they can't. They were gonna, I thought that they would look at that last fall.
Yeah, they didn't.
And resolution.
One thing so there's a section in this document that says ideas continuum, and the banning commercial use does not appear in there, but then he goes on to, later in the document, the end of the document, to say recommendation consolidation, and he proposes 5 different alternatives. And the second one is no parking be allowed in the meadow, drop off only, but no commercial drop off use and no events. So he did include it in this consolidation. So it just didn't make the list of the ideas continuum, which I thought was interesting, but
okay,
he does. So he's got everything from no river access being allowed and no parking, meaning people could enjoy they could enjoy the meadow, but they couldn't cross it to go to the water and they couldn't park there, to no parking allowed in the meadow, but drop off with that river access, but no commercial drop off and no events, to a 24-car lot with strong limits, or reduce parking to X number, say 5, 6, whatever, or as an alternative, they said experiment, try things in measured steps to see how things work at each step.
Did they try to draw a line between when we are dropping people off on the road versus actually going on the property? So it was considered commercial, even if they were dropping them off on Cochrane Road, they were crossing with their tubes.
that's, it wasn't talked to that detail.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the food
Yeah.
truck sitting there and saying, okay, I get that. But I can see that this one here is
Great,
food grade.
Yeah.
But I guess also see where that scenario creates an absolute bottleneck on Cochrane Road.
yeah,
I wonder, like, other ideas. Maybe the answer presented itself. If they told us it's a nice 2-hour float from Bombardier to Overrockers, maybe we say 1 hour parking.
Yeah,
you know what?
1 hour parking.
So you're like, well, then you're enough time. I mean,
They-
use swimmers though, it's still like.
You mean 1
Yeah.
hour at Overrocker,
At,
but they don't park there.
no, but I know,
Oh, yeah.
but there's a lot of.
Yeah, there are people.
Cheerleaders
right.
that drop off.
You're
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, from an enforcement standpoint.
Yeah,
That's-
ideas.
No, that was not brought up. You're
That's
right.
interesting.
That's an interesting point.
One thing that,
Even if you made a 2-hour parking, I think it would be. Maybe 5 PM time. This way,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
but enforcement is a whole other.
there was some brainstorming on what were other 2-hour, we thought of some, but in some sense, I felt for Steve and like, isn't there some place that's less of a pinch point that could work? And he's really done a lot of thought, but we came up.
The
We
first
would-
place my mind went to was to try to inadvertently try to tell him how to run his business and saying, well, what if you dropped it over Rockford, you pulled out Conant's Farm?
Uh-huh.
Then you had 2 good parking areas there. Is that your new 2-hour run? Of course, our job is not to tell him.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And there's probably some commerce that takes place with those people pulling out at Volunteers Green.
Yeah.
They're
But
going
how
to the store,
much?
They're going
Yeah.
somewhere getting a coffee or something. You don't want to, that's kind of the only silver lining to any of the recreation in Richmond, and hopefully they're ending up our business.
Yeah.
There's no data on any of that. And I would like some data on that because as
How
I
would we
keep
do that?
hearing that but they're all marketing, they all have marketing, so
I see a ton of mountain bikes at Stone Corral all the time. So
did they ride there or did they ride out there?
they're on the back cars.
I bet Stone Corral.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm sure they do.
I just don't know if
The
there's-
bike tours out there, I see like the nice touring bikes lined up, so.
How many floaters were there though, wet?
Yeah.
But huge event at Cochrane's this weekend, I don't know how much that spilled out into the economy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these people come here and have road races and all that stuff, Probably I'd be guilty too, because, I was on board of a nonprofit, we were in races every year on a river, out around church, and Well, we stopped at Costco, you know, because you're a nonprofit, that's what you do. In hindsight, it wouldn't have killed us to give $30 to Richmond. Have bought that, well, time we didn't have the store, but if you bought that locally, I think that's something we should. The town should kind of put forward to people.
Interesting. That's a great point of view. Yeah.
The other thing is
Mhm.
with Bombardier was sort of just like. One of those game cameras, or even a fake one. Like that's set up somewhere. Like, so, you know. If somebody is thinking about parking there overnight, you know, whether it's real or not, there's a fake camera in our shoulder.
It does. And I've got at least a half a dozen that are broken, so.
Yeah,
But that is interesting. We didn't bring that up, but that is an interesting, you know, if there is gonna be parking, could it be watched? You know, access, it's yeah, I like that. I'm gonna write that one
Actually, I
down.
one guy that's got it's a cell phone one that sends a picture of your phone. So it looks really cool. Because it's got a 10 on it. Oh, it would
Yeah,
command authority, it doesn't work, but.
yeah,
Yeah.
Command authority.
yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all could make some.
I was thinking that would be.
But we went, I think I trusted they took back all that stuff, because one of my comments was like, well, if you don't have any parking there, how are you gonna stop people from driving through and parking there anyways? Because you have access and people pull up things, and I've seen, you know, I've talked to two people who pull up the thing and let the car in because they just have to drop the canoe, and they say, I'm just gonna close it right back up again. They pull out and push the thing back in, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? All right.
Right, legally, you can't do anything, right? The
No,
land
I
trust
was
has to make the
like,
call.
you know, they were,
Well-
you know, they were nice, Chuck. And when you get met with, oh, I'm just gonna be 2 seconds, like, that's a completely different attitude than you have.
Well-
You have no right to tell me what.
Or the guy who ran over the flowers and he said they'll grow back.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah, like, okay. Well, whatever. Yeah, so,
Yeah, I'm just kidding, like.
yes, well. Yeah,
I'll
that
get a
was,
picture of that.
yeah, that was a question, like, if this field has no alcohol, how do you just buy that keg that was?
I mean, that's like. I think last year, right off the bat. Whether PAC or LT, like better rules of behavior, like not flimsy paper signs that they taught, but like. You know, no alcohol, like,
No overnight.
no overnight, like.
They do have pretty comprehensive signs, but they're small print and you're out of your car by the time you see them.
Yeah, but who would do that? Like, who would be able to make, you know, maybe to talk to people, better than highway sign, I don't know if that really.
No, but that's interesting. If we could agree on what I was gonna say, and have it done in a metal sign, that does say something different than those little
Yeah.
political
Yeah.
paper things.
It's almost like you want to have a sign that says, you know, parking here is a 1-year trial. You know,
That's almost it. Yeah. The future is in your hands.
Yeah.
to this parking to continue available to you, here are the rules that we all must follow, and please encourage your neighbors to follow these rules too. And
That's something.
That is really, yeah, we got
It's
something.
very.
So the reality of it is, let's say they make the decision in May. They still have to go through the zoning process, they can do something, it's not gonna happen
Yeah,
Which wouldn't
on
happen.
the right side.
Mhm.
On the right, you know, if everything went through fast. So I think we should assume there's no parking there.
so it sounds like, I'm not sure it's our job or not, but it sounds like that we should. Look for something a little more permanent to close that pull off. Whether it's we lay a telephone pole there or something crosswise or something, so we can get away from that. Just unloading. type
Is
scenario.
that our job or is that the RLT's?
Well, that's a good question. The where Pete put the gravel, that's the towns, and then just beyond the gravel is
Yeah,
our.
exactly.
And
Oh, yeah, I think we could go out on a limb ourselves, I think, but I think if we had the RLT on board with it, just did. Something to get away from that baling wire and stick scenario that you're talking about. Maybe that would help, that would alleviate that part of it.
A moat.
yeah.
Gators, oh no, giant leeches.
Yeah, but when do we? Yeah, so, I mean, I'm even thinking at the Overrocker or at the Checkered hospital, we have to get ahead of that before it gets, we don't want to get used in the mud season, my age. I don't think anybody would be doing it. If you're biking in the mud season, but like,
There's people on bikes right now.
yeah, they're not on trails that
Oh,
go on
okay.
that trail.
I haven't.
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, there we go, into springtime work. Do you want to move on to that one next?
Yeah,
don't think we can roll that into our next
Yeah,
agenda item anyways and talk about.
You need the agenda. Rebecca?
no, it's just springtime PAC work. I just threw that in there, hoping that we had Pete. And all the things we were just talking about is, are we still happy with those, again, those political kind of Richmond recreational parking here that Kara made a few years ago? Do we still want them to be like that? Do you want to upgrade them? Do you want them to look any different? Do you want to keep the ones we have? We still might have enough to go through another season.
I wonder if we could get statistics for how often that QR is. I might be able to get statistics for that.
Oh.
I bet it's not used much.
I don't know.
yeah, I would like to sign Overrockers instead of Checkered House, just saying parking open April or whatever, May, so whatever it is, give the date and time of time. Really just tell people, and it's not open, but you can't even, it's easy, get a turn in mind, but I don't have much sign making. So,
What would you say again? You're talking about the parking at Johnny Brook,
Johnny Brook,
and that doesn't open until when?
RV training's permanent, 11 permanent says it can be open at a certain date, like,
Okay,
can't call,
I don't remember what it was either.
but it's.
okay, April 15th.
Yeah, whatever day. Because I think even right now, some of the boats are still set up, so it kind of looks like, it's how to be used, and I think that area will go away really fast if we go in there and just turn it into a market. Like that'll be in that parking area. Wait for it.
So we want to make a little sign or something there with on a rope that says parking open and whatever date we figure out is the
Yeah.
date.
Yeah,
I mean, otherwise, like you said,
yeah,
you're gonna be way behind on the condition of that.
yeah,
If people start going there now.
yeah.
There's parking there right now, though. There's ropes up, right? They didn't come
And
down.
everything, man.
Yeah, we asked, but
Yeah,
I think it might have froze.
yeah.
Does anybody drive by? Did you ever drive by and look over at Checkered House?
At the art parking area, I haven't seen people there recently, but.
So should we put,
Should we take all the ropes in, or is that just, or should we take the ropes that are there and pull them on the edge of the way, so it's clear, like,
it's like a Pete question?
yeah.
Don't you see that we ought to have a permanent sign there that says parking open from April 15th to November 1st, or whatever it is.
That's it,
Talk to Pete about that.
yeah,
And in the meantime, like you say, we're going something in your face that says,
yeah,
not yet.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I don't know the dates at all. Do you happen to know where that, or should we say that's Josh? Or-
I could talk about it. Yeah.
It seems like maybe we ought to be making a little wish list of signs for Pete. Be like a separate document that we have and just kind of pass it around and figure out what we want to say and.
Seems like, to list all the areas. Yeah, because Pete does a little work on most of them. I know, he does the ropes around the meadow, and he'll probably come in. Well, we can ask him if he's gonna redo those. He'll probably redo them over, they haven't come down over near Jane Miller's house, so we'll probably tighten those up. I'd probably have to put a set of ropes across the street from that parking. Well, we have to hear from them how that's gonna go. There's no parking across from, you know what that is. I've heard from two people, they really like the idea of no parking right there. That little tiny spot right near where the parking is at the, bridge that goes over the Huntington, in the regular parking, but the parking on the other side. Edmonds Bridge,
Edmonds,
yeah,
yeah.
that, where some people put one car or two cars.
Yeah.
Some people, I've heard from two people, they love the idea of no one parking there because of how, one was how hard it is to see around the corner, and the other one was that it actually blocked them going down into the field. So I thought, okay, good.
Actually, what?
It blocks pedestrians, when there's
Oh.
cars there, it's hard to get around the cars to go down into the field. Okay, the meadow area. So I just heard developing, shall we say a chart?
Yeah, I don't know, what's the best way to get it?
Can we stand Excel again?
Yes. To do,
No, we probably don't need Excel, but we just need to hit each of the areas and say what we need. We can do it right now even, but
would that be a good use for them?
Like, we could put together a table or something like that, and they can put on there Johnny Brook and suggested signs and work off of that.
Mhm.
Oh, I
And
never
put in the major parking areas that we deal with.
So we should put those white parking signs, obviously in the meadow, down. You know, a good question for RLT is what are they gonna do with that? The Beacon canoe access.
Yeah,
There's been no
it sounded
discussion on
like,
that.
yeah, it sounded like they sort of stalled on that extension, right?
They're pretty busy with other stuff that are going on, I'm sure. But I think it'd be nice to know, are they gonna? Their plan had been to move with the new parking that he had made that little bump out, you know, it's right next to the canoe access down a little ways. They're gonna move towards closing that canoe access because of visibility and it's hard to maintain the road there. But I haven't heard anything in over a year on that, so maybe we could ask
Which
them.
do access to this?
Beacon, right off,
Oh,
right
yeah,
past
Beacon,
Crystals.
I don't see that underlying erosion problem that we were constantly just making that bank worse and worse. I'd like to see in the word wish list, I'd like the Overrocker sign to have a sign underneath that said easy river access or something. But it seems like they're in the middle of nowhere.
We're gonna put that
Say, why
on.
would I want to park here? But then realize that you've got 75 yards or 50 yards, whatever it is, and you're on the river.
I think we could also, since we're talking about Overrocker there, I think we could also ask the Trails Committee if they're thinking of putting maps on places.
Yeah, I asked
Yeah.
that, I sort of
Did
asked
you?
John Cart where all that was, but I could reach out to him. Is he still on that? I think he is.
Where were we just walking? And there was signposted every few feet, not every few feet, every intersection. We just went with. Just this weekend, was it? Remember, we went with Aaron and Shosh. We went up to.
Oh, yeah,
In Libby's
Notch
Look,
Road.
Libby's Look, Crescent Pond, beautifully signposted. Have you ever seen all their, there's a mark, and then at each intersection, there's a map and where you are on the map,
Nice.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Have you ever, they did a great job.
yeah, it's easy to do, it kind of loops around, so it's easy to kind of like,
It's very stitching around, but it's gotten so much better.
yeah.
Now, who's doing the signage on that? I'll figure that.
No.
isn't that
No,
Jericho
no,
Underhill? It's,
no, it's private.
That's, well, Capital's land up there, but right in the middle, they cut out that pond piece. But I think you told me that they do a shop of that.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really nice. You take your kids up there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I love Libby's Look. Her kids just love it there.
Yeah.
Wow.
oh, interesting.
What I'm saying is that Overrocker needs signage,
Mhm.
like kiosk kind of thing with doggy bags for food and, you know, like, you know, those kinds of things. I don't know. How does that happen in the town? Does he know?
You know, these have Eagle projects written all.
Oh, that's actually not a bad thought.
There you go.
know,
Yeah.
There's a
Job
kiosk,
jar.
Boy Scout Eagle Project.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Love it.
I saw the Google, I mentioned this in the team, in the Google Place, for Overrocker, this is good, it says like river access.
Oh, good.
Like, it's not just a vague.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
But should it say something else?
No, that's perfect, I feel like that says, this is
Yeah.
where I access the river.
Yeah,
And
Um,
I think going into this season, maybe. I think if you put it on Front Porch Forum, if you're using the river trail, you could access the river, it's the both rockers, but. That's only gonna help a little, because a lot of a lot of towners and then. It's driving down to the.
Let me ask you a question, like, when you put Overrocker on Google Maps, do we want to put all the other ones on Google Maps? Even, are we allowed to, like, on Google Maps to say, like, if we put in the Johnny Brook one, are we allowed to say, it's open seasonally, April to,
yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, you can.
I mean, because honestly, most people would look up Richmond parking, and then that's when they get Overrocker.
And I saw that I don't remember how I got notified, but that there have been thousands of people that hit it.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, we should see what maybe that has an impact this year, because we didn't really do it.
It's hard to, yeah,
If we had
without
a big
data.
impact, I wouldn't want to throw a more sensitive parking area. Into that, until you see what it actually does to demand,
Very good point, very good point.
and I wouldn't if they're Bombardier.
No,
No, but like the.
nothing to see here.
Yeah,
But, that's a great thing, I can say, I don't know the answer to that question.
I was trying to find out some statistics while we were doing this, and I happened to notice that the end of the ball field, in the Richmond Town Square to Checkered Bridge is 2 miles.
Wait, Volunteers Green,
The far end
our end.
to Checkered House is 2 miles, 2 hours.
They just can't.
2 miles.
They just can't pull out.
Hmm.
I talked to Steve about that, which also brings up the question, do we want to talk to Steve?
Yeah, do we want to, I mean, is that our job? I mean, it was definitely,
I mean, you and I.
felt
can-
those little, it wasn't confrontational, but we obviously had different, we were at odds.
Do we want to help him with this?
Do we want to help?
so putting that Overrockers,
Again, none of our business, but I happened to, just as I was trying to figure out what was marked, I noticed that, no, not at Overrockers. If you went in at, Volunteers Green, the far side towards this septic, then that to Checkered House
that's
is.
the wastewater plant.
Yes.
The check, yeah. Well, we brought it up a little bit and he said that the water was too slow there. Sort of,
Yeah,
maybe that was a euphemism,
yeah.
too thick.
I can see how he's unloading the bus and the plant is still right.
Welcome to Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a couple ideas to come up with a chart or outline,
I'm happy to do that. Excel if there's.
and to have on that open, closing and tasks, put out some.
Going. Lisa's saying that Kevin, she can only hear about 1/3 of what you're saying.
Oh, really?
Is that right?
Everybody else?
Did we lose her?
There
No,
she
there.
is.
Can you only hear 1/3?
I'm not sure which third I heard.
Can you hear 1/3 of us or? am I-
I can hear some of you more than others.
I think we're using. I'm not sure which mic we're using. I believe we're using the computer mic.
Mhm.
And if I switch us to. I think.
Yeah, Kevin is sort of blanked out. I think maybe partly, maybe it's the direction he's talking, but, I really want,
Is this any better?
that's better.
Okay, yeah, because I think it might be a little echoier, but I think that would be easier for Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's, don't let me interfere. I'm just, just an observation.
Sorry, I didn't see it sooner.
I'm mumbling up.
I'm eating. You can watch me eat if you like.
So what's next on the agenda?
Traffic ordinances.
Just,
Are we ready to move on?
Are we ready to move on? Saying,
What are we leaving? Are we leaving the spring preparedness and moving on to traffic ordinances?
Do you want to, we could put a document together and just throw it around to each other to add and then have it ready for the next meeting maybe. Do you want to do that? Is that, should we put it out on our Google Docs? We can just put. Do you want to do that, or does somebody want to take it on, or do you want to break it up and? What's our next meeting?
yeah, I almost feel like we need like a little to-do list and maybe, you know,
What we had done, before is that, we did create, each of the areas. And then we would stop, we would just go through each one.
yeah.
But we could put that out on Google Docs and we can update it, or we can email it to each other. Just try to do the next step.
Should we just type something up real quick, see if there's any real low hanging fruit, or we want
I think
to?
it's a great idea. Why don't we just do it now? Yeah, it feels like.
You wanna start it or?
I can start it.
All right,
The checkered house. What do you want to do with the roads? Leave them as they are right now? And get it. Talk to Pete, see what he wants to do.
Mhm.
Maybe pull the ropes out to the edge of the right of way if he thinks that that's a good idea. And then add a sign saying. Parking opening on whatever date, per permit, like,
Okay, you wanna?
yeah.
That all sounds
Yeah.
great. There's 4 items there. People. It would be our responsibility to put a sign there,
Yeah,
and I don't know what the date is, but I'd be happy to put just a little. Handwritten sign, or you could put a handwritten sign on a rope that's gonna hang there during the entrances. That might be a better idea.
yeah, the sign thing, what do we like?
I mean, to put a rope across and said, closed until whatever the date is.
That's only this, maybe there's a rope across there, a hanging sign in the middle saying opening May 1st.
Doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah, I think that sends a message and keeps honest people honest.
And then also, right, I can do this, check in with V-Trans just to let them know that. We're complying to their permits, you know, right?
Could somebody bump out what the date of that is when we figure out what? the
Yeah,
opens?
look, I was just
Yeah.
trying to find it in my email, and can find it, so.
If you know, and you want me to make a sign, I just have to make it by Wednesday. Otherwise, I can do it this week. Yeah, we're just heading out for a long weekend, so.
Yeah, do you have a way of making like a more durable? I'm trying to picture what I would even use.
I would get.
If we ask the
poster-
town,
When they do the coral kind of things that we have now, the water.
Yeah, I would get, I think I have some, and the ones that you push to the ground, well, this would be one thing on the road.
yeah,
So I've got some 1/4-inch white plexiglass, the sheet of it. So they're it's PVC, but I mean, so, you know, I could make a sign and laminate it onto there with contact paper or something like that, which I've done with hiking masks before, and they seem to be durable. But if that's not quite spiffy enough, okay.
I think that's spiffy enough.
I think, yeah,
We just need to know
our
what to
sticky
say.
level is.
It's pretty low.
yeah,
And you know, it's mud season and everyone would respect, you know, I mean, think about, you know.
Let me take a crack at it this week. I'm going next week, but let me take a crack at it this week, and if it's not spiffy enough, then we'll do something else.
Yeah,
I'll-
And Kevin will get the date to
I'll
me.
send you a
We
date.
will, in the next agenda, we'll check on splittings.
Right there.
also, if you can't get it done, send me, keep us informed and I can do it next Wednesday, but I think Kevin, we probably need it up sooner. We're gonna hit 60 this weekend.
Yeah,
So people are just. budgeting up more.
yeah, okay. All right,
If there's a way to that parking lot, somebody will be parking there.
So if I do that, I'll put a rope across,
One of their roofs, yeah.
hang a sign and send you guys a picture.
yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah, just, I think we should do it soon.
all right.
Thank you.
I mean, I could also check in Lars, who, that's, so I pull ropes out right away, check in with Pete, add opening start date with a sign. Kevin will send the opening start date to Chuck. Check in with V-Trans, and I think that's about it.
And what sets the date? Is that a,
It's for the
V-Trans date?
11/11 permit.
oh, it's for the,
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's a little later in spring, so,
It's probably, is it soil related?
yeah.
Okay,
It's
it's good.
because it's not the grass and
Yeah.
everything's grabbing it, so if you drive in the night, it's gonna be.
Should you give me both ends? We'll do a sign that says open from April 1st to November
Yeah.
1st or something, so we can put it back up again.
Yeah,
October to the snowbanks if you want.
yeah, okay. All right, Overrockers, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Check, so the comment, so. We added it to Google Maps, which is good.
On Google Maps, I really like Chuck's thought of river access. You know, like a smaller sign there, river access.
River access sign, is that something we can coordinate with the Trails Committee, or do we just?
It's Pete. I mean, we should,
what are we're telling them to use the existing trails, right? So.
it's just when somebody drives by,
Yeah,
there's the Overrockers, they don't know.
What's there, yeah, so river access.
We want trail river access.
But I just want to know that the river access, assuming what that means is you go to the River Shore Trail and then you use Union ladders.
Well, I'm gonna say, if I was a person pulling there, I would use the trail to go wherever I wanted.
Yeah,
On the river. And you don't have to use that. You just want to go for the day. You keep more.
river access.
Trail river access.
Do we need to? Do you feel any obligation to sort of say this way to the river and there's not very stunning?
You don't need down there.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is we should talk with the trails. And see what they have for signage, what they do want to go up.
And kiosk again.
Yeah,
And, I'm
the
assuming-
doggy bags, I have a question, you have to have a dog, you do that, and then you have to have a trash can, or does the town even want to be involved in that, or?
Do not. Yes, Susan.
Yeah.
Protocol. Right,
Uh,
well, they all leave their bags there, because there's not a garbage can.
Yeah,
Um,
what about like a communication plan, like front porch forum, residents, instead of parking at Round Church, Bombardier, consider parking at Overrockers to help our neighbors. Like just make it specific to Overrockers, like maybe sometime in May or as it warms up, just help our neighbors. If you're gonna park at Round Church to use Cochran Road, consider parking at Overrockers. If you're gonna use Bombardier to access the river trail, consider parking at Overrockers. And let's see if that makes any difference.
yeah, let's word that. I think communication
Yeah,
as things start to open up is a great idea.
in the town Facebook page.
Like a full press release kind of thing?
No,
Just kind of a social media thing,
front porch forum, town Facebook,
Facebook, yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, Facebook.
The question I would have is, does that?
Oh, the parking committee has it?
I mean, this came up in the land trust thing is that, you know, a large percentage of the people who are using this place aren't local. So, I mean, it can't hurt.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I totally agree. You're not, there's a certain audience you're not gonna reach, but it's. If people hear, all right, this will help our neighbors a little bit and so skin off my back as well. Out there, like get Overrockers utilized more. Cause even I still park at Crown Church to go for a jog sometimes. It's like, if there's messages out there that, you know, not using those limited spaces and using this other parking area.
you appreciate it, and people will.
Mhm. Mhm. And then would you like me to reach out to Jim and say, can you come to one of our meetings and tell us what's going on with the Beekin community access parking area? How about that? Or do you want me just to ask them to put you in?
Yeah, how does that affect? How does that impact us right now, do you think?
Because we were encouraging that other parking area. So when there's the canoe access and then right beyond that is that other parking area
Yeah,
that was created 2 years ago that doesn't get a lot of attention.
yeah,
And that was supposed to be the precedent for using that. And then I don't still know how to take the canoes river. And then they're going to close the other. How's that impact us? Well, we usually put recreational parking sign there. If we're looking for more usage, there's a lot more parking there than there is at the canoe access.
yeah,
People are not using the other recreational.
yeah,
Much
Yeah,
less than overrockers. It's great access.
yeah,
Again, another, it belongs, it's really interest.
yeah.
It's one of our spots.
Less controversial one.
It was.
They're actually have like an engineering plan and everything like that.
Yeah, they do something, I like to see what's going on.
Yeah.
I can just ask Jim if I can, if
I think
it
that's-
warrants him coming in, last him coming in otherwise. So when all this happened in 2020, what was happening down with the Beekin canoe access is that people were parking on both sides of the road. And so that's when we worked, PAC worked with RLT to get some overflow parking, we were calling it. And one of the spots we really liked was at the end of Chris Kemp's field for there. We felt like that was a really good spot, but RLT like the next spot.
The other side.
The other side, and we didn't really care.
Yeah.
As long as the whole idea was to get the cars off. It was smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get the cars off. The road. So it is a PAC initiative.
Yeah.
So I'll ask him,
Yeah.
fill it
yeah.
in,
Find out.
How's that?
I feel like they have their
see if he wants to come talk to us
their
about
hands
it.
full right now, maybe they're not.
Yeah, it's gonna be full, but
Yeah.
also these things take a while, especially if there's engineering and stuff like that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always this discussion of, I think even Fish and Wildlife said it, like, you got all these new parking areas, maybe you need to step back and look at them holistically and maybe Overrockers, I don't know if it could replace their aspirations with Beekin Preserve.
No,
I remember one function that coming up, I don't remember who it was, but the land trust kind of said, why we act with Overrocker so close? And it was kind of like, that's where it was.
That's where it is.
It wasn't like it wasn't a terrible thing, but it was like.
Yeah, so they would they back off of, like, so you're saying that those two can't serve the same purpose? That it's just easier for canoe access from Beekin Preserve?
well, again, they wanted to get rid of
Yeah,
that driveway thing.
yeah,
I'll double check with them and get that.
yeah.
How's
Yeah.
that? That makes sense.
Yeah, this year, I mean, Cochrane Road, obviously, it's already been on the news, that the Cochrane Road is gonna be under a microscope this year. Because
Yeah.
all the traffic's gonna get diverted there. And anything, parking wise is gonna become amped up that much more
Yeah,
in the focus.
yeah,
Yeah, so I will, yes.
I guess in my mind, we talk about the guests we'd like to have come in here and join us. I mean, Pete's obviously high on the list. I think Jim would be high on the list. I'd love to have Andy, the constable, in here. I think we have to come up with an answer.
So.
I think we need to start. Lisa, I think we should start paying our constable. So that the Richmond PD can hire him for special events like 4th of July and all that, which they're all willing to do, except for they can't legally do it because you can't be paid for a job you otherwise volunteer for.
Did I not,
Like 2 cents.
did I not put you on the text messaging that said that when he's not coming in, because he's driving back from Harrison,
Okay, that's fine.
and he may make it to our, we put on the 22nd.
Yeah, I thought it was a couple weeks out.
It's definitely a couple weeks out. He
Yeah.
might be back in time for April 24th meeting.
Yeah, that's
So,
22nd of Sam.
yeah, April 24th meeting, because he says it'll be in Richmond on the 21st. So, yeah, so I think I said, check on him on the 20,
Yeah.
prior to that, the 20. And he said he'd love to come.
All right, so we have Checkered House, Overrockers, Beekin Preserve. Talk about Dugway, any spring preparedness for Dugway Road? I think first is ordinance.
So I do think Dugway Road is gonna need should somewhere in the plan should be a full-blown press release. Whether it's by the select board who sends it out or whoever, but I like, again, I see Channel 3 and Channel 5 quickly covered the ban on organized running events on Cochrane Road last week, or the potential ban. And I think, as Kevin points out, so few of the people on Dugway Road live in Richmond that you need to get that out to the Chittenden County group that these are some changes and it is what it is.
So when would that go out? So I think to do that. I mean, what is it, an article? It's probably through Josh or the select board. What are the logistics of getting that and what's our goal for having that to them? You know what, they're probably not gonna be interested in that story until early June, maybe Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I kind of think chronologically, how do we do this? We want to have, at some point, with obvious things have to get approved. And then we need to have our signs approved and our signs up, and then somewhere after the signs up, you'd think we want
Yeah,
to put the word out.
yeah,
So anybody coming by we don't want to create a situation where we have a press release and people come by with no signs and it's just confusing.
yeah, because if the press, if the article was tied to the ordinance change, it would be much too early in the year to
believe you're
really
right.
get any interest.
Memorial Day is a great time, just before Memorial Day, hopefully we have signage up, and I think an idea of the press release is a great idea. And it should come from the town. We can help them with wording.
Yeah.
What do you think about, like, doing it also in something like 7 days?
Right.
I think that's the goal of the press releases. We just send it out.
You put it everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they think it's worth it, they'll do something with it.
Yeah.
And
Story, what's happening in Richmond.
yeah,
we're very fortunate, I think, that people in the press pay attention to Richmond. I think they realize that there's a lot going on here that's coming from the bigger city area, which is nice.
Especially in the news.
so I'd
Yeah.
say, we could start drafting that, but I don't want to be presumptuous and assume ordinance.
I think you
change,
should
just
wait
gonna
We should-
wait till the ordinance.
April, May,
Yeah,
May 1st, maybe we can.
Certainly, we can all be mulling it over in the back of our mind.
mull it over. Great. And I think it's kind of really appreciate us to sort of come up with some wording for it, they
Yeah.
can take it further.
yeah.
But I can't wait.
So assuming, understanding that the ordinance hasn't passed yet. But yet we're still working through these items. What else needs to be done the Dugway?
Great question,
I already reached, I'll just add, I already reached out to Pete to offer our support in picking, and identifying signage.
okay,
Absolutely.
great. The RLT has been the ones putting up those laminated signs that everybody does like. And we, at one point, walked it several times and tried to, think about, okay, there's the legal parking, do we want a sign to reflect that legal area? Do we want to do any more work in that legal area? Do we want to say like mile marker 110, there's 3 possible spots there? Do we, as a parking advisory committee, want to take that on and map it out and own signage and
Well, one,
it's a question
one
we talked
partial
about.
step to that. I remember this, is that they have those nice signs and it sort of says clearly what constitutes on the road and off the road, but it's not personalized for the spot. So people look at it and they go, so, I mean, it would be a heck of a lot of work, but if we don't. I mean,
It's a lot of work.
one step before saying these are legal spots, if those pictures were drawn to the spot. So that people could look at it and go, oh, okay, so that's that tree, that's this. I mean, that would be a lot of work, and I think you probably get yourself into the sign setting, I don't know.
I just know that Pete's brought it up a couple of times.
We could, I mean, we know that area, that,
I
I
don't,
wouldn't mind doing,
do we have somebody artistic enough to do that?
well, I was more thinking that I wouldn't mind going in there and doing the sketch of the data. Obviously, they've got this
Luke,
signage loaded into some computer somewhere.
Luke Boyd has that.
Yeah, but Lou Borey, he's still around.
Yeah, he's still part
Okay,
of
so
it.
he can, and maybe if we give him the background and say, Lou, it looks like 3 cars here. And then no one know.
Or he'll give us that and he says.
And here, this X marks where the sign is. So we can use that as a reference. But maybe I don't want to do a little legwork on that.
It will, it's,
It'd be more, it'd be a lot of work.
it takes a lot, I'm gonna say, I would envision at least 12 spots like that,
Yeah.
12 signs. It's,
Yeah.
I'm just do that number out, there's more than 5. There's less than 20.
As a matter of fact, I think the only really good way, what I found, is we probably have to get, a number of cars and try stacking them in there and tracing them. It was hard. Remember when we were walking it out and kind of go, well, you didn't really care about your car. Or you had, you had a
Small car.
Yeah.
When you and I did it with your car and my truck,
right.
that gave us some perspective, because I was surprised by how small some of those areas turned out to be that I thought were good for 8 cars, and they turned out to be good for 5.5, So, that's a
It
good
would be a
point.
worthy thing to do.
It would be a worthy thing to do, and I don't really want to do it.
But here's the point. So when we talk about a partial step, would we be putting ourselves, or would we be putting RPD in a weird position that said, well, the sign said it was legal? I mean, there's no ordinance to say it is legal.
It was their attempt, Richmond Land Trust attempt to show what
The behavior.
was yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great attempt,
It was a great,
what's legal and what's illegal. Although, I think they didn't use the word illegal. They used it.
Unsafe and unsafe. and unsafe.
Yeah.
Like on a normal road, the parking areas would be nice, cleanly defined by some white paint, and obviously that's not a viable solution because it's gravel, but then I'm thinking, well, when it's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna be one weekend, could paint be put up on a Friday and have it last the weekend, which clearly shows where those parking areas are.
That's a fascinating thing. It's like,
But who would want to do it? But it would be, is it really just 10 minutes of work of somebody just taking the wheel with the white paint and saying, shh, that's it. I don't know, maybe it won't last the weekend, or maybe it would.
Good, yeah. I mean, it's a suggestion, right? It's obviously not the law, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
We talked about people doing on Cochrane Road, and,
yeah.
it's $500 a mile, and there's pushback.
mhm.
I'm not so much worried about the work as I am the sort of, by what legal are we saying?
I think RLT sign makes more and more sense to be safer than unsafe. They're not even doing any legal and illegal.
The only thing the only unfortunate thing is that their sign shows good and bad, kind of looks like it, you know.
Like
It
it
looks
could-
like a real place, it's not like an abstracted thing, so you kind of. Where is that?
Well, we could work on it we could make it more generic, we could say, you know,
Or we can ask them to do it, they own quite a, they own, yeah.
I have no idea. I just brought it up because Pete,
It's
at
okay.
least 3 times that he talked to me about it, and I go, oh, should I do this?
Let's ask him about on what legal grounds, it didn't put anybody into an awkward position.
Who asked
Or
me?
maybe- or maybe that's Allison.
Maybe just,
I wouldn't mind doing the work. It's just. Are
Are we actually helping it?
Are we helping it along?
Yeah.
Or are we just causing more confusion, and are we making it more legal, illegal? Like,
Well, the thing, yeah,
I go back to, I kind of like them the way they are now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, did you feel the same way? Like,
I did, I
When
got
you
a
circle-
comment on putting a sign up that says, good area for 3 small cars, to thinking, well, that's stupid. And going
Yeah.
onto the map and then, well, that's not gonna work, you know, it's.
Yeah, you have to use the itch.
I gotta say,
Yeah,
let's keep it away. I mean, unless you all have a better, I'm glad we have this conversation, by the way. I don't think we should change it.
even like having Pete add gravel anywhere, or you have better
so-
perspective on this than I do, Chuck.
That's a different kind of question,
Yeah,
and a good one.
just defer to him.
Do
Yeah.
we want to ask Pete? He does add gravel up there frequently in the spring to help with road erosion and, we want to ask him, can you be more generous with it in some spots, or I think he does a really good job of it.
It's funny because one of those spots that John and I noted up there that was particularly interesting was a place that we would want to remove 3 yards of gravel. Where they kind of mounted up on the side there, and we thought, boy, if that gravel wasn't here, I could, this would be okay right here. And then later, you and I talked about that, and he said, no, I put that there. And I don't remember, I think there used to be a guardrail there years
He
ago.
put that there, he was told by the select board that there was complaint, he thought it was for the dock on the place. Something maybe had been parking there, and so they put it up higher.
Yep.
And he just did whatever he said, just over there, you were there, okay, he said, just don't put there, and I agree, so I'd like to, yeah, I could, you know.
It did look like, to us anyway, it seemed like a place where 2 or 3 cars could sit, it's fairly straight, it's just at the end of I believe it's right at the end of the horse pasture, so it's good visibility. And for whatever reason, the gravel was back 18 inches up on the trees. And it just seemed like that was impeding parking, not to mention some available gravel there.
Right,
Does anybody know the date of the ordinance,
you did what?
vote, or whatever it
The
is?
next one is the next ordinance vote is the next.
That's a great question, so we on ordinance stuff? 7:50. Oh, okay. Traffic ordinance, are we doing that right now?
Oh,
No, that's fine.
Is anybody planning on being at that select board? I feel like
When is it?
that's a good question.
Is it look,
Does anyone really know me? I feel like it might just be. a
So- I don't even understand the procedure, so they announce it at one meeting, and then they announce it at another select board meeting, and then that's all they,
I think this is the public comment period, right? And then they,
I thought it was 60 days.
yeah,
So if they announced it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Correct?
yes.
So we've still got a month and a half theoretically till they have the closing of it.
yeah. All right.
That makes sense?
Yes,
so the next one is this.
and would they just let us know? I'm not paying, like,
Kind of agenda, right?
correct.
But I believe that
I think like every meeting.
I think so.
All right,
They have-
So I think we should proceed as if this is gonna pass, both these things are gonna pass, but actually not pull the trigger on signage or anything until
Yeah,
that last select board meeting when they approve,
yeah.
Lisa,
final approval of the ordinances.
Lisa, is it okay to ask you, I mean, do you know when that ordinance is coming up for the next?
There's two ordinances.
John, off the top of my head, I know almost nothing, but I can look in there, our packet for next week. Yeah, next week, yeah.
It'll be further
I don't
out.
recall seeing anything about that in there. There's some stuff. I've jumped into the fast moving river with the select board. I'm just slowly, but it's, yeah, there would be a period of time, almost a gestation, the select board to look at it and probably have questions, which means we'll come back the next time. And then if it's,
Yeah, our gut feeling was it was a 60-day public notice thing, and we're only probably 2 weeks into that, so we've got a little bit of time, I think.
okay, if I can't say yeah or no, but on that, it's, there would be a comment period, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Days, that makes sense.
We have time to find out the answer. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Anything
Thank
else on Dugway? What to-do list?
No, we don't put any signage out on it, we don't put any ropes up there anywhere. No.
That's the public communication aspect, which we'll get to.
One thing that we had talked with Pete about for Dugway is, do we want some kind of like sign at the beginning and end?
Yeah,
Saying new parking pattern.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the one that might take some wording. Maybe it's one of those variable message boards, or it's a permanent, I don't know, like,
We're not out.
that's just those orange ones that just, yeah.
I could, we could potentially get one of our neighbors, let us put that in our driveway in the bottom of Dugway Road for the first little bit, for the
Yeah.
first couple of weekends, maybe.
See what Pete thinks on that. I
Yeah.
think we'll defer to him. How he wants
So
to.
do we think that something just early in the season would make the difference?
I think it's for the summer, the new parking pattern ahead.
Yeah.
And then some explanation.
Then until we-
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did, the fines for parking go up to $50?
I think they did.
I think they were-
Is
I didn't know
I
that.
think it's-
Did, okay, Ken, at least you're good. Okay.
They went up to $50.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we decided 100 would probably start some kind of a war, so. And 25 was, a lot of people equated 25 to a convenience fee. Yeah,
Absolutely true.
a little more than that, so 50 came out.
I gotta get one of those tickets this year.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we thank you.
Thank you. That, I think, one of the questions for Pete when we talk signage is, can we put the parking fee on it? Parking fee,
Like
there's
that.
dollars, and I don't know how we would address, towing?
Supposedly, the town has a maximum towing rate that can be charged. I want to say it's $125. So it seems like a little sign on there that said parking fine $50 and or towing fine, towing fee of $125.
Or do you just want to put towing,
It,
if tow, call, and you put the non-emergency number
Yeah.
for the police department?
I think actually,
That's pretty
That's
persuasive.
probably a smart idea, is that if because there's multiple people that tow there, right?
Yes.
So we can't put the towing organizations there.
that'd be advertising.
Maybe, okay, again, I'm just, if you're keeping track of that, Kevin, I think that whatever communication we can put on our signs.
Yeah,
We're thinking about the section up on the road there, fencing it off and buying a little tow truck.
That's
It would be so efficient. We could go 50 cars an hour up there.
inflatable guy.
Everybody would hate us.
That said, the tone of the signage, we've kind of gone back and forth and figured, like, we'll regret this to, here's what we're trying to do for our neighborhood. We may, I guess, as we think about the signage, we want to make it, we have to start the tone.
it is, yeah.
So when Pete orders from his catalog, there is no tone.
There's
I think the tone is in that
Yeah.
gateway sign.
like, yeah.
That's the one that, and whether that's a variable message board or that's a custom sign that Pete has made that says, I think the gateway sign on either end, primarily on the lower end for me, maybe both ends, but those signs that say, here's the new pattern. Here are the repercussions. I think that's the.
There's probably relatively few people come from the Huntington side, because if you're coming from the Huntington side, you have other places to go.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
Almost wondering about we had those solar speed limit signs. You know, and you got a telephone pole right at the end of Dugway and Cochrane Road right there. I would just be curious if you could put something there that's for the summer instead of a trailer. My mind originally was picturing a roll-off, big blinking highway sign that said, beware new traffic ahead and all that stuff, but I wonder about just simple red flashing light that says, don't get towed, new parking ahead.
yeah, yeah, I mean, if it's ends up being a sign that goes up every year, you might as well just own it.
Yeah.
Take it out in the spring and plop it in
We
and,
would definitely need this for, I would say, 3 years.
yeah,
Please just,
It changed better.
yeah.
And you could reprogram it in the winter time for 25 miles an hour ahead or whatever, and I think that's the beauty of those.
Whoops.
It can adapt.
All right.
all right. Next parking area, I think Bombardier we covered quite a bit,
Yeah.
and there's a
We
lot
just
of
have to wait on that.
hypotheticals and.
I think the only thing we would talk to Pete is, you know, again, the signage she was proposing for around there. And, what should we do with, ropes, like? What do we do that? Maybe we want a rope. Like right now, Jane still has the ropes in her house, in that parking lot, right on the west wall to the parking lot. It's a hard spot because we can't get a car there, so that's why we put the ropes there. So people don't speed a car down. It's better to just. Rock.
Did she put cements today?
No, he did, no, it's, not- I'm talking about the road.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna speed a car in there, off the road.
Anything else next?
Anything else there?
Mm,
Nope.
Not until we kind of know one direction or another. And whether the ordinance change.
Yeah, we're waiting on, right, can't do signs, we can talk about signs, we can't do,
Yeah,
that happens, and then.
all right. Next on the agenda,
It's not on the agenda, but, Gillete Pond. We need to talk about that at some point.
I
Do us doing something there this summer.
feel like we have our place full.
I love your answer.
I don't need another.
By the way, at the RLT meeting, I believe misperception that tickets were issued came up. Or was,
Did you hear the bottom of that?
Yeah, there's no tickets.
We dug into this and it was just a front porch forum,
Yeah,
fan the flames, and you would have thought 100 people got tickets.
yeah.
The police did exactly what they should have done. They drove by and said, don't like the way your cars are parked, please move them. 3 cars got moved, somehow miraculously, the second time they found places that didn't get tickets.
Yeah,
I thought our police department did a perfect job.
Yeah.
And we beat them up pretty good at one of our meetings, and we owe them an apology.
They
yeah,
moved over to Duran Road, and I even know, a person who was involved in that, and she, not a big deal, it's just like, I used to those things off with the car and
yeah.
went back skating again. It was like, it was a non-issue, it was loud, that was everything, it was like, oh,
Yeah,
you know, I was, it announces.
Yeah.
Move your cars, you're not gonna take it that.
But I think the long-term plan there is that we've kind of scoped out an area, we talked to Bob about it, Bob Lowe. Where we believe that without too much difficulty and with Pete's help, that we can create a parking area for 8 cars. On the west side,
Bob's, on Bob's side.
Bob Lowe's side, correct? Although I looked on the map, I'm not 100% sure it's his or not, but anyways. it's a place where you could draw in some fill there and put 8 cars. I'd like to think 8 cars there. A minimum of 6 cars in the Richmond RLT parking area. You'd like to think that's gonna really help out quite a bit and maybe not need any more attention, but I don't know. I mean, we found out that if you had a Black Ice Pond hockey tournament or something like that, it seemed like the Girl Scout camp would be willing to rent out their parking lot
Yeah,
for something big.
yeah.
So I'm
It might be okay, but we did have to close that, or at least talk to Pete, so this summer.
Yeah.
And we felt that. We got, obviously look at the area, Pete has to look at the area, but there's equipment up there. We might be able to get some work done.
that's just a moving pill or something, but.
Yeah,
So, I think we've got a solution up there that's. They'll take care of things shy of not writing tickets and opening up that Pandora's box for, of what laws we ignore, and which ones we enforce. So,
We'd like to talk to Pete, one, because his opinion on it, and the second is the difficulty comes with, winter time. Does that mean when he plows up there, will plow over a little bit more in that
I
section?
think so.
Okay.
I don't think that's a big deal for them. When they, for instance, below my house, that spot below John Rosenthal's, that little,
Yeah,
they tend to sweep blow the wing out a little bit there and open that up, which is nice. And then RLT has mentioned that the parking in their parking lot is on them.
yep,
So they'll be maintaining that.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
wait and see.
I think we can move forward
Yeah,
trying to get that
yeah.
added parking in this year.
What has to happen to do that?
Conversation with Pete, conversation with Bob Lowe, site visits. With everybody who needs to be there, and then
I mean, great,
from the
that
town,
word, time and place.
we have to get that, we have to tell the select board, and then they say, okay, Pete, go ahead and go ahead and do the work, and he gives the okay from the board, and I think that happens. And he
Yeah.
has to do the work.
Is it just the fact that they need, I mean, there's no curb cut per se, is it just the need for the bill that involves the select board? I mean, if a private owner says, sure, you can park on my lane, or is it, oh, no, it's right.
It's, he has to buy this, film.
The bill.
Well, you bring a good point, though. I mean, we'd have to, we'd be worth a conversation with the contractor doing the dam to find out what kind of material they're removing and possibly shipping away, and we may be able to at least get a good solid rock foundation and top dress it with some of Pete's gravel and make a good deal of everybody out of this. You think some good rocks down there would keep that from pushing out like nature's gonna want.
So definitely on our scope, nothing rushed, mud season right now, and we do want to get people thinking about it. And particular Pete's inputs and RLTs. This would be like overflow now.
Yeah,
I think once Pete gets, the world, when we start lifting the weight limits off the roads and all, I think Pete's life might get a little bit better. And
We had the quiet period up until May.
so now it's quiet,
Now
right?
it's
Okay,
quiet because budget and like storms and whatever, mud season. So he can do that. Usually when he does, it's done the work before the fact, it's usually up to like middle of May. Then this stuff starts. I don't know if it has to do with the budget cycle. I don't know how that works. Work cycle, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
because right, they start on their own
Then
road
they
work
have-
anyways.
I mean, look at them last year, they were so busy in town, that's right in the center. There was something,
There's the water stuff.
well, it was curb cuts, they were doing all kinds of work there, and this is all scheduled stuff.
That conversation reminds me of that, I pointed out the other night, that with the paving work on Route 2, a whole bunch of more stuff is coming to Falcon Road. So you know, especially the stuff he's kind of familiar with, Bombardier fields, but for extra string, it's kind of fortuitous that it all goes well with the ordinances.
Yeah.
Anything
The
else?
bridge, the bridge is out to bid. The bridge over I-89, I 2 by the fire station. That's, yeah, so
Is that why it's being cleared?
yeah.
Oh,
They're doing, it's gonna be a new alignment inside of the curve, so that
Interesting.
kind of tough timing for all those.
Oh.
I guess
I had no idea.
busy corridor, but they're not gonna do the culvert on the northbound barrel of 89 from last year. They just did the southern one,
That's true.
Gosh,
So we've already lived this to some extent.
yeah.
Oh, well,
Good
one
point.
by one, I mean, Jericho Bridge, Lincoln Bridge.
No,
Yeah.
but last year the culvert failed,
Yeah,
Oh, really?
and we went down to one lane on the
Yeah,
interstate.
remember that? Nice and full bump.
yeah.
Wow. Oh, gosh, yeah.
It'd be nice to see that bridge replaced if you ever.
No, I don't know what.
Yeah, I did an inspection with one of my colleagues on it. There's like wood blocking.
Which bridge is this?
Right over the 89 by the fire station.
Oh, okay.
That's where they're cutting the trees, they're getting ready for the work.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
Is that a happy year or a year?
Oh, boy, that's probably a couple of years. I don't know all the details on it, but I know it. And I'm not even sure if it's been awarded yet. I think it's just advertised. But, yeah, that's a big project.
All right, where are we?
Yeah.
Those are all the areas that I know of.
So, I mean, the Gillette Pond, I'm not that up to speed, but like, so is this a discussion that, you know, maybe next meeting we do have Pete in here, or
Yes.
is this a separate?
No.
Is this a separate meeting where we have Pete, Bob, like, what do we want to do here? Like, what's the, you know, who's the contractor, is this work that they can do, like if you want it to happen, how do we get it to happen? Like,
I think we can talk to them about it for sure here. I think it's probably more polite to have a conversation with him off the meeting.
yeah,
And I wasn't gonna approach him personally until after mud season.
yeah,
Honestly, it's like, I didn't wanna go up there. So
Yeah.
it's just like,
yeah, okay,
I don't know if we put this off for a month.
yeah,
I mean, this is a summertime thing,
yeah,
and I don't wanna surprise him.
yeah, okay, sounds good. I'll just say revisit.
Yeah, I mean, visit sounds good.
All right. Next on the agenda,
So we did the traffic ordinance, that was new news.
yeah,
And then enforcement, should we just leave that
we did that.
April? Well, we did the, you know, we did
Oh, well,
the $50.
yeah. And then the discussion, with Andy will be in April.
And you'll be there.
And he'll come to the,
Yeah, I don't know if he'll come or if he'll be on Zoom, but
I enjoy talking.
yeah.
do we as a group have a Google Calendar we share or anything like that?
We never made a Google Calendar. Did you make a Google Calendar?
I was using one for virtual invites.
You have a Google ID, right? For the app.
Yeah, but I haven't been able to get into it. The password got changed or something and wait. Yeah,
We back in that. but
yeah, we're glad
You wanna set up a calendar on that account?
Do we want a calendar? Are you thinking of a calendar of events or a calendar?
I'm kind of looking at saying, okay, May 1st, we'd like to have this, and this done.
Yes, that's a different kind of.
June 1st, we'd have this, and this done, just kind of a action points.
This is Gantt chart.
If you have one, I don't have access to it.
12 hours. Anyhow, it would be, I think it'd be an excellent idea to have a calendar, because we open things and we close things, and there's a cycle
Yeah,
of recreation.
So we need like a timeline or
More like
like, you know what we need, is we need your local sheets.
Yes, but we need an online, we need a,
But those forms have been public. Yeah, let's do that.
whose calendars?
Do that, everything, or just a timeline?
Okay. What do you envision calendar as?
So, I mean, I just envision a simple Google Calendar with some events and deadlines and all that stuff, and if two people go meet with Pete, you know, it wouldn't be a horrible idea to put on there, you know, met with Pete and discuss signage for overrockers or whatever, and just,
Yeah, I
but
like,
mainly, so you had some finish lines and waypoints along the way.
So
yeah, we use Microsoft Teams. We don't need another program, but like, you keep a little running chat of like who's done what and checking in on specific tasks. But
I have a feel, I think this is, I feel like we need a seasonal calendar of what has to happen. I feel like that would be awesome. Doesn't have to be a Google Calendar, but I feel like given none of this is too pressing that I feel like I need the tasks laid out in a management tool.
yeah.
If it was a lot, I would say yes to that. Only because I know how hard it was for us to do it.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I mean, when you go on the calendar, you link to the notes you took at that meeting and you know, and you get the email address that was at the meeting and all that stuff. I get that. I'm not quite sure we're there, but I'm
It's not my strong suit.
always somebody else did that for me. So I'm just, you know, I'm just looking in my mind and I'm saying, you know, it'd be nice to link to a calendar and understand what I haven't, you know, I kind of believe in some action points too. And saying, Chuck, you're leaving here, your action point is to get the sign made for Johnny Brook. You know,
We've never done that yet.
actually, John says to me, where's the sign?
We've never done that yet only because I feel like there's not that, I mean, nothing's fallen off.
Yeah.
In these 3 years. How we used to run it was we would just put all the areas down and we just do it. Anything new, no, oh yeah, we gotta do something there. That was every meeting, every 2 weeks. That was like just a running conversation.
This may just be one of those things you put in the back of your mind and you ponder and you think 2 weeks from now, somebody says, oh, I have no idea about that. There's certainly nothing we need to decide on that.
I did see when John was doing the minutes, and it was, you're typing some of them. What you really did in those minutes was great. How did you say it? You said, did you say action point or did you say follow up? So in the minutes that he took.
Well, it was FU. And,
I like that.
And I kept going, what's this follow-up thing, John? He said, oh, that's when, you know, Chuck's gonna do that, or you're gonna, oh, so I thought that was really good, but all of a sudden it was in the minutes of follow-up.
Good idea.
But it's only been when John was doing it, and I never was looking at that. Let's keep it in mind, I do think we need when are we opening things and when are we closing things?
Yeah.
And what do we do beforehand and what do we do after? Who collects the fines? Take the ropes down. I feel like that's definitely a calendar that we should, oh my gosh, 38, like that kind of thing.
All right. I'm getting tired. Next on the agenda. Yeah, we got
Communication, which we've been talking about, because that is all about communication, Chuck. The calendar usage feedback. Want to just wrap up?
We approved minutes for last week, right? Last week.
Is there anything else? We have anything else? Yes.
I wasn't, so that the last one was on my list, COVID related, so can I approve minutes for?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
go
Do we
to,
have to hold them up or, no, yes, they were last months, right? It was last month. I can write down in the, me,
Do I need to, you want to know?
approved past meeting minutes, I just didn't know what our last.
We approved those. I remember John did.
So that was the 13th, y'all?
13th, yeah,
Okay,
so
that was,
I moved to approve the meeting minutes from March 13th.
I see.
okay,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
okay.
Chuck, are you an aye?
Aye.
I think that was everybody, right?
Next meeting is 10. Yeah. Any thoughts on the agenda for next meeting? You want to think about it? And I like the same sort of agenda.
Same
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, sort of the same agenda and, just one question about the coming over here.
So, will people be there, will answer all questions, so.
I'll invite Pete.
What's the process for the low fuel, the low energy?
All right, and, great, is there anything else or should we adjourn?
I'm good. Do you want to see if you can get in that
I
Gmail?
just sent you
Okay.
a recent link, did you get it?
So if Kevin has the, what is it called? The advisory
Yeah.
email,
Yeah, did you get
so
it?
that's what you need for the.
251379.
Should you get, should we adjourn when we do this, password?
Yeah, all right. Move to adjourn.
Second that. Oh, there's, okay, adjourned.
And we are going, and we're going to stop recording.
Thank you, Lisa, for adjourning.